I'm still Brittany.
I'm still Kendall.
And I'm still Mike.
I love that for us. Hey, guys, we have now taken this Kevin Spacey drama. We missed out on one part only to have accidentally fallen into more drama with Kevin Spacey.
I thought he was just gone.
No, they don't just disappear when they do naughty things.
Unfortunately.
I know. So let's talk about what actually happened. So Guy Pearce had initially talked about a story that had happened in 97, or at least near 97, because that's when this movie LA Confidential was made. Guy Pearce talked about how Kevin Spacey made him feel targeted while filming this movie. He said that he was extremely charming and brilliant at his craft. However, he admitted that Kevin Spacey was, or that he was sort of scared of Kevin Spacey because he was quite an aggressive man. He said, quote, "He holds a room remarkably, but I was young and susceptible and he targeted me, no question." Which, as we know, has been a theme around the charges with Kevin Spacey, even though the lawsuit has been dropped, correct, Mike? Yeah,
one of the many.
Yes, okay.
There were many, but yes, one it has been dropped, and then that's where he kind of celebrated that as the big win. Like, hey, look at this! This was dropped, so clearly my name is cleared. Well, there were more than that.
Clearly, I'm a great, upstanding individual of law.
Totally.
1997. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little like, dang, that's a grudge.
Like that
to bring it up.
Yeah,
It just seems a little. It just seems a little interesting.
And that's what people were kind of saying because he being Guy Pearce is a few weeks away from potentially winning an Oscar. So it's like, oh, this is a get in the headlines type of a story. Let's just, go after and pile on somebody who has clearly deserved a lot of what he's gotten from an attention standpoint in the most negative way possible. But some people feel like maybe this is just grabbing some headlines.
Well, and that's kind of how I felt yesterday when we first had read it. Yeah. So if this had just been the story, we had it, but I was like, this is if we literally couldn't find anything else. I kind of put it in my backup.
Oh crap, we ran out of things to say.
Totally, which shockingly enough almost never happens to us.
Weird.
But then, Mike, Kevin Spacey did the thing that you're not supposed to do.
In his defense, and again, I don't want to defend Kevin Spacey, but maybe it's the exact same thing, he should have done in this case and just went to social media, went live on a video and said this.
Guy Pearce, I've now read the comments that you made about me, and while I would have preferred not to have to play this out in the media, you obviously have your own reasons for wanting to do exactly that. But we worked together a long time ago. If I did something then that upset you, you could have reached out to me. We could have had that conversation. But instead, you've decided to speak to the press, who are now, of course, coming after me because they would like to know what my response is to the things that you said. You really want to know what my response is?
Yes.
Grow up. Did you also, by the way, tell the press that a year after we shot LA Confidential, you flew to Savannah, Georgia, while I was shooting Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, just to spend time with me? Did you tell the press that too? Or does that not fit into the victim narrative you have going? So anyway, I apologize that I didn't get the message that you don't like spending time with me. Maybe there was another reason, I don't know.
And he goes on there for another 45 seconds or so.
This is giving House of Cards so
totally
hard right now. I feel like someone's about to, Robin Wright's about to walk into frame.
I know, especially he's reading the rights. You know how you're like, oh, we finally caught Kevin Spacey's character, and he's like, actually, and then pulls something out, and you're like, me and Mike did laugh. We go, I don't know if proving you're not aggressive by being aggressive is the answer, but I will say this, points were made.
Yeah,
so entertaining.
I wasn't a guy who targeted people or was super aggressive. Oh wait, let me target this guy and tell him how super aggressive.
But if you want me to be, watch me go.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, that was the back and forth and why you're seeing those two names in the headlines.
Two guys I honestly almost never think about. The fact that they are two grown men fighting online about this is amazing.
I am curious. since we're talking about him anyway, Guy Pearce. Do you think he could win one? An Oscar, Mike?
There's been some shakeups, and we didn't have a chance to really break down the BAFTAs yet, but we should, because if you aren't aware, a lot of the times the Oscars can sometimes clone the BAFTAs a little bit. So the movies that have success in the BAFTAs tend to do really well when it comes to the Oscars. In fact, last year, admittedly, last year, a lot of these categories were a little more set in stone, but the exact top 6 awards when it came to Oscar season, it followed BAFTAs perfectly.
Wow.
So all of the winners, the Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Actor, Best Actress, and then the Best Picture, all of them followed perfectly with the BAFTAs. Well, there were some interesting winners when it came to the BAFTAs, including the fact that it wasn't Guy Pearce. He actually, again, most people think that Kieran Culkin is going to win the Best Supporting Actor role for his portrayal in the A Real Pain. Kieran Culkin's been a big favorite, but his odds, and by him I mean Guy Pearce, have jumped substantially. So that is much more of a possibility. Still probably like 70% going to go the way of Kieran Culkin, but like maybe 30% now it could be Guy Pearce.
And Guy Pearce is for the Brutalist.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure we all know. Yeah.
Amazing, horrifying, awful in the Brutalist. His character in the Brutalist shared a lot of qualities that we've heard with Kevin Spacey, ironically. Just a very, very aggressive, again, everything we just talked about. Awful dude. But so that was interesting. But the other thing was Best Picture, the best film at the BAFTAs, Conclave.
Ooh.
Look at that.
So
And we think that it's going to be, I mean, odds are they're putting towards Brutalist, but.
Well, it was.
And now
until the BAFTAs. Now, I'm not going to say they went the full swing of the Brutalist getting knocked off by Conclave, but Anora has actually now jumped over the top of the Brutalist. So we're seeing a jockeying for position for that Best Picture that we don't normally see.
You guys, as the person who was tasked with watching Anora,
Yeah.
I had fun. But if I'm going to pretend like that is the Best Picture winner, you could knock me over with a feather. It was sex on sex on sex, and there was funny parts, and it was entertaining, and the story was I was enthralled the whole time.
Right.
But this is not a Best Picture Oscar winner. I'm so sorry.
You're saying only if the voters are really horny.
Yeah, but like horny and like kind of in a way where you like almost you watched porn too long and you're not that interested in sex anymore because there's so much sex. You're kind of like by the tail end, you're like, whatever, another crotch shot. Cool.
Yeah.
I know.
Said no one ever.
Maybe I just, again, this happens a lot with media that is made for other demographics like men. Maybe I'm not the demo and I have to accept that. We did get correspondent Donna Valentine.
Oh.
She wrote in saying, watch Spacey Unmasked on Max. Trust me, it's eye-opening.
Okay.
Spacey Unmasked on Max.
Good luck.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. That's why it should be called HBO.
Seriously, what were they thinking? Who else is doing well at the BAFTAs?
Well, the BAFTAs Best Director now, and many people thought Anora, which is now the favorite to win the Best Picture. Many people thought Sean Baker, the director of Anora, was kind of a shoo-in to win Best Director. Mm-hmm. Again, these are all based on the initial odds, and The Brutalist was a huge favorite to win. Well, now Best Film, again, according to the BAFTAs, if you follow that line, went to Conclave, but Best Director actually went to Brady Corbett from The Brutalist.
Yeah.
So the guy who directed The Brutalist and also, just created that whole concept for that movie, did the original screenplay for it. He actually won Best Director.
Okay, Mike is the only one on our show who's watched The Brutalist and Conclave. Mm-hmm. Who gets it?
Conclave is my favorite movie of the year. I don't know if I've actually said that so far.
I don't think you have.
Okay, Conclave is my favorite movie of the year.
Okay.
Brutalist is the best movie of the year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I get it. I get your train of thought.
Brutalist is a better overall movie. Conclave sometimes just hand-fed it to us too much.
Yeah.
It felt like it was like the Best Picture nominee that we're watching on Peacock.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, we get it. You don't have to continually remind us how this voting process works.
Totally.
It just kind of like, they airmailed, or they just kind of like gave us too much foreshadowing in a lot of places on Conclave. I loved it. I loved everything about it. Again, it was my favorite movie of the year, but I think The Brutalist was better. a better film.
I'm going to try to see Brutalist this weekend. I've decided out of nowhere, and I already regret saying it because it's 3.5 hours.
That's a long commitment.
So Best Actor, speaking of The Brutalist, Adrian Brody did win that for the BAFTAs. Mikey Madison from Anora did win the Best Actress of a Leading Role. And then when it came to the supporting roles, Kieran Culkin and Zoe Saldana. So again, the favorites for those four, but that's the way the BAFTAs went. And sometimes that's a pretty good indication of where the Oscars will go.
We didn't have, I mean, I know Anora's been on these lists, but I didn't have anyone from Anora on my radar, especially not for Best Actress.
I would say she kills it.
She does. Okay.
And I can't stress enough. You fully know, and that's why it's almost a character-driven movie. The characters are so flushed out when they make the decisions they make in this quick amount of time that you watch Anora. You go, yeah, that decision makes sense for that character. Like, they she embodies a hustler prostitute who falls in love. Like, she embodies it, nails it. And you go, of course she asked for more money during this deal. Of course she did that. Of course she's pissed off. Like, so she killed it. Absolutely slayed.
All right.
And again, the other thing is, too, Demi Moore was the one kind of the favorite to win that Best Actress in a Leading Role for The Substance. But then Carla Sofia Gascon was also in the running for it. Now, we've seen Emilia Perez since the scandal has come out, since the controversy around Emilia Perez. It hasn't affected Zoe Saldana. It has affected not only Carla, but the Best Picture chances. Emilia Perez seemed to be the only one that could have contended with The Brutalist when these odds first came out. Now Emilia Perez is behind Wicked.
Oh, wow.
So it literally it goes Anora, Brutalist, and Conclave, all very, very close. Now, I will say, A Complete Unknown, not too far off as well. So this could be a year where we go into it and not really know who the Best Picture is going to be. I mean, that's happened in the past, obviously, but usually we have a much better idea. All the top five, though, are ahead of, with Complete Unknown, Wicked, and then Emilia Perez is the sixth right now from an odd standpoint.
And Mike, I think I fall in a similar situation with you, which I saw A Complete Unknown, and it probably was my favorite movie I saw because it made a story out of a situation I didn't even ever know about.
Sure.
And they had the music. It felt like a concert. Like, I enjoyed it so much. But, and I keep in mind, I haven't seen The Brutalist. I would pick Conclave over. Like, I think it's a better overall movie.
Sure.
Even though I enjoyed A Complete Unknown probably more than I debatably Wicked. Like, they were enjoyable in different ways.
Don't you?
A Complete Unknown is just one of those things. Like, I think Donna Valentine said it best when she was like, I would go see this movie again, and I would be ready to see A Complete Unknown again before I would see Wicked again. But even though I had a blast with Wicked, but it was like, I could wait like a year or two before I see this.
But we all know it's not going to win. But it's not in my heart.
It's great. Oh my God. And like, take nothing away from Wicked. It was a blast.
Yes. And hey, it won an R vote too.
Yeah.
It did, yes.
And like,
what am I talking, which is much better than an Oscar. We all know this.
And the one thing Wicked has against it is we know the plot. So you're not going to it with like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
wide open eyes.
Yeah. Like, like, oh, what's going to happen next? Like, if something's so good and you know it's so inside and out and it's still so good and the way they did it is unique, that is an accomplishment. So it's like, I won't ever but there's something about literally going into A Complete Unknown and not knowing where the hell this story was going to go that already gets a few extra points from me because of that.
It was A Complete Unknown.
Sure.
And I will say, I think John Chu is going to get a lot of love next year, I'm hoping. Because the fact that he wasn't up for Best Director, and I think everyone just had that in the back of their mind that, I mean, For Good, Wicked for Good is coming out next year. So.
And let's be honest, the main reason a lot of these movies want to be nominated, want to win, is to get their revenue up, get more, you know what I mean? That's why there's all these pushes. That's why there's all these stories. Wicked don't need that.
No.
Like,
true.
It's not like they're out there planning stories to get Ariana and Cynthia Erivo more press. They don't need more press. We know them inside and out. There's nobody who wanted to see Wicked who didn't. It's not like
true.
Yeah, so it's like the things that people, you know, Conclave is not a movie any of us would have watched had it not been nominated. So it's like they needed it.
That's true. It's true. Okay. Guys, ironically, as everybody who's watching on YouTube or listening knows, we have been breaking down the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni case this week. We are on episode 3 today, and episode 3 will cover the original Blake Lively both complaint in California, which then ended up being an actual lawsuit in New York. I'm looking at everything today, and what pops up? But Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, and not just any story about them. She is actually amending her original complaint. She before had not really put anyone else in this complaint. She'd said that there were co-stars that also had felt harassment from Justin Baldoni or Jamie Heath, who is the president of Wayfarer Studios, but she did not name any names. She kept it very much just her and co-stars or other actors or cast members, like very bland. Well, the plot is thickening a little bit because now she is saying in this amended complaint that was filed in New York on Tuesday that there are 2 additional actresses that were involved in the film It Ends With Us that are willing to testify against Justin Baldoni, saying that they witnessed some of this sexual harassment and were there for many of the different bits of inappropriate behavior. And they also felt uncomfortable on set. So she's like, listen, I have receipts for all of this. Like, I've shown you the text messages, I've shown you the emails, but now I have actual people, 2 different actors who are willing to come forward and testify. I don't know if this is going to do a lot for the actual case. I think anybody would have actually come forward anyway, or would have been asked to come forward at any point by one of the 2 camps involved in this.
Yeah.
But Justin Baldoni's teams immediately responded. Of course, Wednesday morning, this is filed Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, Brian Friedman, his attorney, is on it. And he goes, listen, we have been providing receipts, real-time documents, videos showing completely different storylines than the, quote, manipulated and cherry-picked ones that have been sent to the media. So he's like, go ahead, bring it. You have nothing. And he also actually, he goes on, says a lot of verbiage, as they always do.
Yeah.
But he goes, our client's been taking this matter very seriously, notwithstanding the jokes made publicly by the plaintiff and her husband. The jokes, of course, referring to that 50th anniversary special on SNL.
Yeah.
When Amy Poehler and Tina Fey asked Ryan Reynolds, they said, how you doing, Ryan? And he goes, fine. What have you heard? And everyone kind of giggles and laughs.
Yeah.
So we talked about this on the show. Like, it probably wasn't a good look for them to make light of this sexual harassment claim. Immediately, Justin Baldoni's attorney said that. Like, as soon as it happened, he ran with it. Tuesday, the very next day, Blake's team puts out, hey, we have 2 actors willing to testify in this case. Wednesday, I mean, it is so back and forth.
It is so back and forth. And I can't stress enough that, like, Baldoni's lawyers are saying, name names, show receipts. And because there's nothing, you can't fight ghosts.
No.
You can't fight unnamed sources. You can't. Like, there's nothing. What are you going to do? Like, what? Preemptively say, well, when I said this in front of this, you don't. So it's kind of like, listen, we will, everybody will hear every victim out, anybody who feels any sort of way. But the problem I'm having, and I'll be so honest, I've disgustingly am. I obviously don't believe that I have any career in my future. So I'm always super honest. But like, the problem I have with Blake Lively's side is things that she has said are in the organization or under the umbrella of sexual assault or harassment or anything like that. I don't necessarily have seen too much that that I believe would fall under that umbrella. And so it doesn't help your case in my mind that you go, I have witnesses to all the things I said. And it's like, okay, but like this, she keeps thinking this is the smoking gun. And I said, doll, that's nothing. Like you're not, I don't really feel like you're holding too much right now. But again, I'm bringing in my own perspective. So it's like, if that was said to me, I wouldn't have that reaction. And that's where it gets so confusing because like, what is the protocol? What is right? What is wrong is in the eye of the beholder sometimes. But like, we do have like a whole, like,
right.
I
know. I totally hear what you say too, because every time that she seems to make a claim, they come with video or footage or just something that is concrete and black and white.
Yeah.
I will say, looking through, I joke that I'm not a lawyer, everyone. After looking through the entire complaint, as these two know, which I just spent like glued to my computer and that attitude of nobody talk to me, I'm a teenager in my room attitude today. You look back at everything she specifically lays out and then the receipts she has in the complaint, and you do go,
there's
yeah,
something.
That ain't good.
That ain't good.
Oh, no, that ain't good either. Because reading it again after his countersuit came out and all those receipts came out, I remember in the same line of like, that's not adding up. That's not that bad. Then you go back and read her original complaint and you go,
that's
okay,
weird.
It actually doesn't really address that.
Yeah.
It's
I'm really
fascinating.
excited. I'm not excited is not the word, but I'm very
looking
intrigued
forward
to then go through that because, and I will say this too, is like your truth is your truth, right?
100.
And so, I mean, the only problem is when it becomes a legal thing. Like, what's the difference between a legal thing and your truth? This woman just had a baby. Yeah. This woman has been a sex symbol and has already gotten all this complaints around, you're not young enough for this role. Mm-hmm. So would I personally, and I keep putting myself in Blake Lively's situation, would I have struggled in that role? And I'm supposed to be this like sexy, hot, young thing. And there is whispering about my weight. Yes, I would have struggled. Now that's the only problem is, does that mean it is lawsuit worthy? Like, I can be very honest with you is I would not thrive in Blake Lively's position ever. The whisperings, is she this, is she that? Because she is somebody who has even used the word, people have used the word full figured around her, which is
laughable.
Exactly. But,
it's funny you bring up to the age thing because that is one of her very specific complaints in this lawsuit is that she alleges that Justin Baldoni was crying in her trailer because some of the publicity, like the photos, the paparazzi photos that came out, people were complaining that she was looking too old and not sexy enough. And she's alleging he was crying to her about it because he was so concerned that they wouldn't take the movie seriously if they didn't think Lily was sexy. And Blake Lively says, I had to comfort him even though everyone was talking crap about me.
Oh, wow.
And I'm reading it and I'm like, it kind of checks out.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Because he's worried about his whole, Wayfarer's whole, if this was a flop, this could take down their whole company. They're not big.
They're not big.
They can't take a big hit. And he talks about those stressors being like, I was the most stressed in the reality of it as I should have handled that alone.
Right.
And you definitely shouldn't be going up to a woman being like, one of you're not sexy enough.
Right. They think you're too old. Look at this horrible, like these horrible shots. And she, in this lawsuit, in this complaint, she alleges, she goes, here's the deal. I was like, listen, I want them to not just think of me as sexy. Like this is Lily supposed to have just experienced this horrible traumatic thing. If that's the photos that they got, I'm sorry, I can't prevent that, but I'm also not going to sexify her abuse.
Yeah.
You guys, it's been really hard to like and listen to Blake Lively throughout this because we have been so into it and like seen all the receipts and we've interviewed Justin and know how he talks.
Yeah.
And we know how his personality is. But looking back and reading some of these like very specific things.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. So
it's interesting.
If you want to, we're going to be breaking that down at 4:30. We also have that on YouTube every episode. And it's been breaking down since day one of the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, I don't even want to say lawsuit, but it's like drama that ends with us.